Hi guys, Olive here today to stage a reading intervention. I have been reading a lot lately, so this isn't a reading slump that I'm trying to bust here. Instead, I have just found that I'm not clicking with what feels like the vast majority of books that I've chosen to pick up so far this year, and that's been really bumming me out. So I decided to do something I haven't done in a really long time. I made a 5-star predictions list. 10 books total, 5 fiction, 5 nonfiction, that I feel like could go on to earn 5 stars from me. I don't know about you, but it has been a very rocky start to the year for me thus far. My real life has been far more chaotic than usual. The state of the world, as always, is pretty terrifying. I've been seeking escapism in books, but even my reading has been letting me down. It took me 2.5 months to read my first 5-star read of the year. That wasn't a reread anyway. Most of the books that I've picked up, I feel like are average at best. Some are outright duds. Bleak. If you're looking for evidence, look no further than my Julia author name reading challenge. That was supposed to be fun. Something's gotta give here. This cannot be another year when I am scrambling in December at the absolute 11th hour, trying to find books I love to put on my year-end favorites list. That's not fun. That's stressful. And although I know some of you out there enjoy my snark, and it can be fun on occasion, I'm getting tired of posting so many grouchy reviews on my Goodreads. So the way I chose to address this is with that 5-star predictions list. As I said, 5 fiction books, 5 nonfiction books, 10 books total that I hope together have the power to turn this reading year around for me. So let me show you what I chose, and over the next few months as I read these, we will find out together if my picker is broken. Since I am primarily a nonfiction reader, I tend to prefer it 9 times out of 10. I thought it made sense to start with nonfiction, and then we will oscillate back and forth between nonfiction and fiction. So the first book on my list is Immune, A Journey into the Mysterious System That Keeps You Alive by Philip Detmer. This is essentially a Cliff's Notes to the human immune system, but it's presented in a way that's actually fun. Philip Detmer is the head of the studio Kurzgesagt, and they also run a YouTube channel by the same name, and they focus on making fun, educational science videos. I have already read a good amount about the human body, which includes about the immune system, so I do imagine a lot of this will be familiar to me. But I chose this because I feel like it aligns with my mission to just start having some fun with my reading, and I feel like this book will show me a good time. The first novel I predict I'll give 5 stars is The Queen of Bloody Everything by Joanna Naden. This is a coming-of-age family drama starring a young girl who grows up in the shadow of her wildly unconventional mother, a woman who views rules as suggestions and stability as optional. And their dynamic becomes even more apparent when a comparatively normal family moves in next door. This kind of felt to me like the British version of Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau, a novel that I adored. I reviewed it here on my channel. I'm hoping to have a similar reaction to this one. Back to nonfiction though, an author who never misses with me is Elizabeth Kolbert, so I felt very safe putting her new book, Life on a Little Known Planet, Dispatches from a Changing World, on my 5-star predictions list. Although this book is new, it is a collection of her older articles, mainly from The New Yorker, and like her other work does, they discuss the natural world and the changing climate. I still think about her book, Under a White Sky, on pretty much a weekly basis, so I'm very excited to go back and read some of her earlier writing. I also wanted some feel-good fiction on this list, because I'm trying to feel good. So I chose The Impulse Purchase by Veronica Henry. This is a novel that stars 3 generations of women who take over the running of a beaten-up old pub, trying to restore it to its former glory. And if this doesn't lift my spirits, I genuinely don't know what will. I also think George, a Magpie memoir by Frida Hughes, has the capacity to put a smile on my face. In this book, the author, Frida Hughes, who is, by the way, the daughter of Sylvia Plath and Ted Hughes, talks about her experience taking in and raising an orphaned baby magpie. I've read similar books to this one before. I really enjoyed a book called Featherhood by Charlie Gilmore, which is essentially this entire premise, so this felt like a safe bet. But speaking of corvids, I've also had my eye on the novel Crow Talk by Eileen Garvin for quite some time. It follows an ornithologist who retreats to a remote cabin in the woods after her life completely falls apart, but while she's there, she rescues a baby crow. and this tiny little bird becomes the unlikely catalyst for healing, friendship, and a very unusual found family. You may be sensing a theme with the books that I am choosing. I am definitely selecting books that I think have the power to make me feel something. Anything. I have one more nature book on my list. I do really love nature writing, especially this time of year when it's getting nicer outside. The book I chose is called The Puma Years by Laura Coleman. And in this memoir, we follow the author as a 20-something-year-old volunteer at a wildlife sanctuary in Bolivia, where she ended up caring for a rescued puma with a traumatic past. I myself have volunteered with wildlife before. Not with pumas, unfortunately. I spent most of my time getting beaten up by adolescent squirrels, but I still think I'm going to connect with this one. Back to fiction, I also selected In the Shadow of 10,000 Hills by Jennifer Haupt. In this novel, we follow the intertwined stories of 3 different women from very different backgrounds, but who are all searching for both family and peace in post-genocide Rwanda. Not only does this sound incredibly moving, I'm also planning on reading a nonfiction book about Rwanda later on this year. It's one of the 26 nonfiction books I wanted to make a priority to read in 2026. So not only is this a 5-star prediction, it could also potentially go on to be one half of those fiction-nonfiction pairings I love so much. The last nonfiction book on my list I feel is the most surefire winner of them all because it combines 2 of my very specific interests, Russian history and food writing. It's called What's Cooking in the Kremlin? From Rasputin to Putin, How Russia Built an Empire with a Knife and Fork by Witold Przybylski. And in this book, the Polish journalist explores the last 100 years of Russian power through food. It sounds bizarre, fascinating, and therefore directly up my alley. And finally, the last book on my 5-star predictions list, the final candidate, you could say, in this ongoing experiment to find out whether or not my picker is truly broken, is Life, Death, and Giants by Ron Rindo. And this novel begins when an 18-pound baby is born into an Amish community in rural Wisconsin. We then follow this child as he grows up into a literal giant, which brings both attention and trouble into the small town that raised him. This title actually comes from an Emily Dickinson poem. It has great reviews, it sounds beautiful, and also it has an Amish connection, which, as a Pennsylvania girl, I know a thing or two about. Please wish me luck with these. I am earnestly trying to turn my frown upside down. I really want this to be a good reading year, even if it started off a little rough. I am not one of those book reviewers who relishes hate reading. More power to anyone who does. But my reading time is precious. I want to be spending it on books that I am actually enjoying. So let me know what you think of my list. Do you think these books are going to go on to earn 5 stars for me? But also, if you've ever encountered a book out in the wild, or if you've read one that struck you as an olive book, please let me know what it is. You're always welcome to check my Goodreads to see if I've already read it, or if it's languishing on my to-read shelf. If you think I will love it, I want to know about it. I can use all the help I can get. All the books that I spoke about today are listed and linked for you in the description box below. And if you do want to keep up with all of my reading hijinks in real time, I am on social media. I use Goodreads, the Storygraph, and Instagram primarily, and the links to where you can find me are at the very bottom of the exact same description box. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.